Well, hey,
Oh, you know what makes sense?
to turn off the air conditioner. Wow.
Which also kind of sucks.
This is like ASMR now. You can
Okay,
everything.
we're going into our intro.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Just
That's close enough.
yeah.
And we can also do like
Yeah.
some claps for Bailey. Everybody give Bailey claps for the pallet wall behind us.
Welcome to UniRoof Construction. This is our web series to kind of help contractors and homeowners understand who they should be choosing and why.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to do things differently than pretty much everybody else in the industry. Obviously, part of owning a business is making money. But how do we do that in a way that it doesn't affect our bottom line and it doesn't affect the customers? We can still provide a top-notch product for the lowest possible cost.
Yeah, and a lot of it we're working primarily with insurance. We do a lot of that,
Yeah.
and a lot of retail. And what homeowners are asking is, hey, provide a quote before you see the estimate. And I don't think that's a wrong thing to do. Just kind of see where somebody is at on a natural scale.
Yeah.
But there's also things that you have to consider with insurance. If they're giving you a certain amount of money for certain items to be hit, you really want to, if you decide to go with a contractor, even if they're lower, give them that scope.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is if we submit our final invoice, which at that point you'd be handling it, you
Yeah.
submit that final invoice. If it's lower than what they had estimated, they are going to pay you lower.
Exactly. And most of the time too, when you are dealing with these larger insurance companies, when they tell you, hey, this is how much it costs to replace your roof, and you come back and tell them, no, it's not, it costs less than that. Most of the time they're going to ask you, okay, well, what was left off of the roof? What's different than what we quoted you for, which is up to code? It's, based on what you had previously. Like basically, are you getting a reduction, or are you just getting a really good deal that it's almost unheard of? So it creates more questions for them than it does, bring a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. But, the main thing, you as a homeowner, you have to choose the right contractor. I think in Tulsa, there's golly, like 800.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I think every year it's like storm season comes around. There's like 1,000 roofing companies in Tulsa. Once storm season ends, I think it's closer to like the 700 mark. But yeah, I mean there's plenty of people out there that you can choose from, and we're by no means asking you to only pick us. But when you're making those decisions and you're looking at quotes and estimates from other companies, keep that in mind. Keep in mind that when they do quote you for a lower price, that's not always about you saving money. If it's on the cash side, absolutely. But that's kind of where we specialize in what we do in creating the process as lean as possible, trimming out the fat, and making it as cost effective for us to do the job.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. We have people comment all the time on our social media, and one of the guys he was a business owner, so
Yeah.
he kind of knew some of the things he was talking about. He's like, well, the only things that really affect the what that final price is are materials cost same for pretty much everybody. Okay, yeah, there's a truth to that. But if you're getting your shingles from Lowe's versus QXO,
Right.
ABC,
Yep. Or
and
you're ordering 30 bundles at a time instead of 150. It's definitely, or 15 pallets worth. It's definitely going to affect, the price of the materials too.
Right, right. And so like a company that's operating more efficiently is probably going to be able to have, they have higher profit margins.
Yep.
But the one of the ways that nobody really talks about is that proficiency. When a company is operating in lean, Toyota Production Systems way of eliminating waste.
Yep.
How are we eliminating waste?
Yeah.
Not letting materials go to the dump just because they weren't used on a job.
Yeah, you purchase, materials for a certain markup from the distributor or even from, a place like Lowe's. And then you don't need those materials, so then you return them for less than what you bought them for. They're quite literally just making money on you hauling shingles around. So how do you take those shingles that are left over from the job, because you always want to have a little bit extra. You always want to have the waste covered, so you're not having to running back and forth from the supplier, back to the job site, or having contractors do that. You don't want to create more problems for the job. So you always want to have a little bit extra, but then how do you take those extra and then use them in a first use scenario on the next roof that they're able to be used on? And that's kind of the system that we're creating here, is finding a Kanban system, finding Kanban, Kanban, a way of doing it in the most efficient way possible. How do we cut out all of the slack so we still make as much money as we can on the back end, and then the customer gets the best price possible?
Yeah. I mean, uh, choosing the right contractor, it's
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely.
And being honest
Yeah,
is
yeah,
very, it can be difficult in construction, especially when we're dealing with insurance. Insurance plays a lot of games around here. So kind of dealing with like the supplement side and understanding, what you're getting.
yeah.
Because if somebody gives us a scope and they have 3 tab, which if you're not sure what those are, they look like basically bricks laying up
Hmm.
on your roof. Architectural, have the texture to them. They're a lot thicker.
Have some
They're
more depth to
Yeah,
them.
yeah, and
Yep.
and so we'll show some of those differences in later videos. But what we do for people is just go ahead and do the architectural. Even if insurance is only paying for 3 tab,
Yep.
that's not a supplement. That's just something that should be done.
Yeah, I mean, three tab is already being phased out in general. I think, one out of every five shingle manufacturers is actually still making three tab shingles, and even then, that's kind of like they're making those for the big developments and stuff, the big builders that make 500 to 1,000 homes a year. So when you're roofing that many roofs, they're not really worried about the quality as much. So that's kind of where that use case scenario is for those types of shingles. Nowadays, it's pretty standard to go with architectural. I will say, for those of y'all that don't have code upgrades on your policy, that does make it difficult, but that's why, like Bailey's saying, choosing the right contractor is really important. Some contractors, they're going to put exactly what the insurance says, which is great, but you're not getting any upgrades, from your current roofing system. So what we do is we actually provide 4 upgrades, pretty standard for all of our roofs. We do ridge vents, which, as you can probably know, it helps a ton with ventilation, which is going to save you money for your electric bill. And it's also going to make your house cooler and easier to cool. So that's always nice. We add architectural style shingles, which is exactly what Bailey's talking about. That actually takes it up from a level 2 impact rating on the 3 tab shingles to a level 3 on our lowest category of impact rating on our shingles. And it kind of goes up from there, obviously, just kind of depending on what you want. But so we upgrade to the architectural shingles. Synthetic underlayment. Most people still use felt, especially when they're doing the larger developments and more homes. They're using felt. It's a little bit cheaper for them to do, and it's still technically up to code. We go ahead and upgrade to synthetic underlayment, and what that does is it actually provides a vapor layer between the decking and the shingles, where a lot of people think that it makes it waterproof, but what it actually does is it allows the roof to breathe if any moisture does get down in that layer, which the felt, as you know, paper is made to hold on to water. So a little bit different, a
Yeah.
little bit different there. Um, and then past that, we actually do install ice and water shield in all of our valleys. In Oklahoma, it is on code either to have ice and water shield or to have 2 layers of synthetic or felt underlayment. Um, why are we messing around and doing the easy way to do it when the right way to do it is to do the ice and water shield? So that's what we do with UniRoof. And all of that just comes standard in our projects. We do all of that standard. And in my opinion, the greatest part about it is after that stuff installed on your roof, the next time, because it is Oklahoma. So, if storms roll around next year, 2 years, 3 years after this, when that roof does have to get reinstalled, insurance has to pay for all of those upgrades to go back on your house. So it's not anything extra from us, and you're getting upgrades in the future when you do go to replace your roof.
Yeah, and it's super important. Code. There's a lot of code issues in
Yeah.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and it's not from houses built in the '70s. Mine was built in the '70s,
Yeah.
and it's actually a lot better.
Probably one of the better houses we've come
y-
across, in comparison to some of the newer
yeah,
ones.
yeah. So
But
it's one of those. Do your research, and kind of look into some of those things and ask a contractor who's giving you a bid. Um, hey, tell me about ice and water code.
yeah.
Tell me about drip edge code. Just some
Hmm.
of those things and see if they know it. And what's interesting is a sales guy might does
Yeah.
the because he's a salesman, he
Yeah.
wants to sell things, or it's the exact opposite where he's like, well, my company, we take care of all that, don't worry,
Mhm.
like of course.
Yeah. Let me talk to the experts
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Like when we're teaching our sales guys, it is everything that a homeowner should know. We let them know. Like
Yeah.
these are the important things.
Yeah.
Because if a sales guy doesn't know code, what are the chances the company's actually following it?
Right, exactly. And to add to that too, I mean, knowledge is power, right? So even if you guys are never going to be installing a roof somewhere, you don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of the roofing industry. But when you're informed in your buying decision, whenever you're going and talking to these contractors and looking at these estimates and quotes, you actually know what it is you're looking for. And then if you see something that just seems off, come talk to us, give us a call. We'll actually walk you through that estimate and that quote. And that's just part of what we do. We're trying to change the industry and do things different than the lifted truck, hop out and you got the Viper shades on and all that's great. And that's all like change is always going to happen in every industry. But in our opinion, there's a way to change and still do things the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Just touching back on what we do.
Hmm.
Uh, we're servants. That's the way we run our company. We're servants to people. So yeah, if something does look a little weird, send it to us.
Yeah.
I have no problem. I always will find time to call somebody and go over details of somebody else's quote, and tell you what you should ask for, or hey, this actually looks fantastic. It's not going to hurt my feelings
Yeah,
with somebody
absolutely.
calling and saying, "Hey, I need help." That's
Yeah.
what we're here for.
Yep, absolutely.
To give help.
Yeah,
So
and when we actually do see those other quotes and stuff from other contractors, it just gives us a good idea of kind of where the industry is here in the area. And I mean, we're not competing against anybody. We have our own prices. We have great suppliers. We have great contractors that we use as far as our install teams go. So we're not battling against anybody as far as price goes in Tulsa.
yeah, well,
Yeah, that's
from UniRoof Construction.
yeah.
Give us a call 918-991-3751. Reach out on our website, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. We're everywhere. So
Yeah.
give us a shout if you
If
have
you can't
questions.
if you can't get a hold of him, 918-891-2581. Give me a shout and we can always help you out.
All right. Take it easy.
Thank you.